Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel, Hazel Anaka Design. I am going to be doing a masterboard today at a viewer request. Oh, question for you. I thought I had decoded all the jargon and abbreviations and all the lingo that's associated with junk journals. And then I realized, well, not so fast. Can somebody tell me what VR means? Is VR viewer request? Because that's the best I could come up with. Anyway, yes, I had a viewer request to do a masterboard. Sorry, I'm just trying to. It's overcast here today, so I'm just adding some light to the subject. Anyway, I had a viewer request doing a masterboard, so I've kind of gathered up some stuff and we'll get to that in a second. Now, I will first show you in better detail the two that I did when I was on my retreat. Geez, too bad I have nothing to... Let's just... Sorry, I'm... Okay, let's pretend... Not pretend. Let's use this as a backdrop. Be less busy. So this... Oh, I know what this was. At a garage sale, I bought a whole bunch... This is... a couple of years ago, bought a whole bunch of scrapbooking supplies from someone, and she had used paper like this and sticky tack to mount all her sticker sheets in, and I guess had it in a binder and flip. Well, when I peeled the stickers off, there are a lot of these sort of greasy looking stains. So I thought, well, this is cardstock, so let's put it to use. So I'll just sort of go over what I did here. I had, and again, didn't have, everything under the sun with me, although it kind of felt like it at times. So I have book page, so there's a couple even foreign language ones, a variety of colors, and that's where I would have started first. Then these stickers, which I love so much, I love them so much that I have been hanging on to them probably for 20 or more years. So they would have been ones added to, Christmas presents or card envelopes or whatever, back before I knew what junk journals were, or maybe before junk journals had been invented. This Merry, Merry, Merry is some stamping. Is it like from a rubber stamp? So is Merry Christmas, 'tis the season, and no peeking. Peace and Love. Those are ones that I had also stamped on some cardstock and fussy cut around. The snowflakes are... What are they? I can't remember now if they're punches or if it was die cuts, but by dotting them around this page, it helps the eye flow through, because basically I would have only had these two red elements, and two doesn't exactly create flow through a document like this. And again, the rules of what rules? The practice of doing a masterboard is slightly different than other things that we do, in the sense that it won't, well, unless I chose to, I guess, this could be folded in half and become if it was on thinner paper and the back was nicer, it could be folded in half and become a signature page, because it's just a regular piece of, letter-sized paper. But in most cases, a masterboard is going to be chopped up into smaller pieces. So, no one is in fact going to know, if I cut this into a tag, that this cardinal is kind of, that there weren't other cardinals on the sheet. So I really like the look of this. Oh, and I should say, because again, maybe it's a form of insanity, these yellowy bits, would you believe, were the negative space around these stickers. So that's why they're sort of so irregular in shape, and of course I had to glue all the stickers down because after that many years the stickum was all gone. Okay, so that was one. And maybe you'll be present when I actually chop this up and use it. So that was that. Then this one, again, same paper, used a variety of book pages, not as much variety perhaps as the other one, because again, I didn't have everything under the sun with me. So to create more of a, let's see, can I tell? Yeah, okay, my next step would have been using a stencil to add some marks in the background. Now I only had my gathered twig with me, so that is the color that I used, which is fine. It's not a particularly festive color, but it does sort of, excuse me, make it look, you know, a wee bit more vintagey. And there are those earth tone type things in most of these cookies. Now these cookies were cut out of a, some kind of a magazine that had a multi-page spread on cookies. So I fussy cut around them and did that. Oh, and these little guys, you know how, well, I don't know if they still do it, but remember when every so often you'd be getting stickers in the mail, particularly if you had donated to a certain charity or something. Do I have any within reach? Well, I think you know. Anyway, address labels, and they'd have a tiny little logo or, you know, illustration beside them. So that's where these came from. I obviously chopped off the name and address, although there's part of my name there. So the only ones that sort of seemed a bit edible related were these candy canes. So then I dotted them around, just again for another layer. Now, again, is this complete? I don't know, maybe not. But like the other, it will be, maybe this one has fewer marks. Maybe a bit too, yeah, it's sort of creaking as I want to fold it. So I think I will chop this one up for tags and pockets as well. So again, if a particular thing ends up being, you know, unbalanced or looks incomplete, then naturally I would add some other elements to it. Okay, so let's get to this. Now, what I have here is a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. It's not great paper in that, I don't know. So I have gathered, so these were some of the scraps I had with me at my retreat. So of course you can see that they're kind of Christmassy colors. This is a new piece of wrapping paper that I just sort of tore off the pack out of the package this morning. This, of course, these gifts and these Santa heads would lend themselves very nicely to fussy cutting. Now, whether or not I do that, excuse me, I don't know. And that is almost, you know, sort of an acid green as opposed to forest green, which is kind of what we'd be more used to. Okay. Oh, and the other thing I have near me are these, you know, and they're just paperweight tags that would have come from Hope Mission. So they were soliciting donations, and so this was sort of included in the envelope. So I have a few of those. So if I need some Merry Christmas or I need some elements of red, this will come in handy. Now, I may have shown you this before. This is this was an embossing folder, and I was not paying attention and realized it says happy birthday. However, that doesn't mean that I can't tear around the happy or these other little things that, if you squint and use your imagination, could almost look like snowflakes. So we'll see if that gets used or not. Perhaps not in today. But anyway, let's begin. Now, I have everything here except traditional book page, but that's fine. We'll use what we have. And I thought that to tone down that black a bit, and not that there's anything, whoops, there's a December, not that there's anything wrong with black, but I just thought that this and this maybe starts, if I just had this dark green and this acid green, it would look maybe a little bit weird. But if I start bringing in other greens, then it looks like, anything goes. She must have had a plan. Little do they know. Anyway, let's begin. So I think what I'm going to do, typically I use my tear ruler. And again, a lot of times I would prefer to use a larger piece of paper like a 12 by 12 or something like that. Now, I tend to like rectilinear shapes more than circular shapes or ovals. But of course, those things have their place as well. I just lean towards this kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is, got this old Costco thing here. That'll be my glue. Is this the right glue stick? My glue thingamajig for today. Whoops. So I hope that this would, I'm always, especially when there are overlapping topics in a video, like, is this Christmas? Is this craft with me? Like, what exactly is going on here? So it's hard. I do like the using playlists and try to do that, right at the time of uploading, simply because it satisfies my need for organization, and hopefully it makes things easier for the viewer as well, because I'm here to please you, not the other way around. So anyway, I don't know exactly where this one will be put, but now I'm not going to worry at this stage of the game. I'm not going to see a whole magazine for gluing, and I still managed to stick it in wet glue and get it on there. Where's my... Tell me I didn't put it away. Anyway, that rubbery thing that picks up things like that. I can fix that later if it's still visible. What was I saying? I don't worry about straight edges at this point, because sure as can be, something else will be covering that. If I have a straight edge and it's later in the process, I will either, roughen up the edge or make sure that it's touching an outside border, or will be hidden by the next layer. I know, I started talking about playlists because I'm hoping that Maybe once you saw the intro to this video, maybe you decided that, hey, I'm going to gather up my stuff and work alongside her today. Oh, I had this as well. And again, at this point, I'm not worrying too much about, you know, the number of pieces of a particular element. So I'm going to switch to something else after this one, even though there are only 4, and we know that the preferred thing is odd numbers. Come on, you can do it. Forgive the rough looking hands and nails. I have an appointment for tomorrow. And look at, good girl, I'm throwing this in the garbage. Okay, so what else do we want? Oh, this is part of a digital from somebody or other. Don't know. So some of these pieces are, as you can tell, strips that were cut off something else. Oh, and look at this. This was tea that I had at the hotel, so that's pretty close there if we wanted to introduce that color. But that might be more on a finishing thing as opposed to on a masterboard. So maybe let's add a bit of this. So at this point, because I'm adding another layer and I don't really want straight edges, I'm going to start doing some ripping. And you've probably noticed when you do your own ripping that in some directions, and I mean, if I was Nick the Booksmith, I'd be able to tell you why. Or I mean, I know why, I just can't predict which one. I think it tears better, as opposed to these little pointy things. It tears better in one direction than the other. If you're just sort of trying to tear up, you know, roughen up your edge so it doesn't look so the same. Now I'm sure by now you know the trick about whether you have a white edge or not. It depends how you tear it. If I tear towards myself, it's going to expose a white edge. If I tear away from myself, it's going to did I just disprove my own theory? Okay, so you can see 2 different things. Now, quite often, I like that white sort of ragged edge because it adds something, I think. But, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder, too. Now, of course, I'm just using a glue stick, and, you know, it's good glue, and it's pretty reliable. At some point, you know, maybe on the final layer, if it's a particularly heavier, or, you know, depending what it's made of, I might end up having to use art glitter glue for better adhesion. But what I was going to say is that once this gets cut down into its parts, you know, whether it's a belly band, a pockets, or cards, you know, a person could decide whether or not they want to stitch around. So that's always an option. I wonder why I didn't use any of these coupons from 2021. I guess because we were locked down, weren't we? Anyway, the other day I got my flu shot and my COVID shot. Same arm, same time. And I have to say my arm was sore for a couple of days today. It is better. Better, better. And again, you know, this is why those of us who are the most anal and keep even the teeny tiniest things, it's at times like this that these things come in handy. You know, because you can have a particular little thing bleed off the edge of the paper, or so it would appear because of the way you've placed it. And, you know, maybe it absolutely needs a touch of something. And if you didn't have that little whatever it was, then it just wouldn't be the same. So you can see that I'm trying to do kind of somewhat balanced distribution of colors. And I guess, you know, nobody's ever asked me that, but I've watched enough videos where presenters will say, you know, people ask me, well, why do you do all that and then cover it up? Well, because the layers matter. Now, I haven't introduced any red yet, but maybe we should do a bit of red. Now, am I going to care that this has hearts on it as opposed to, you know, something Christmassy? No, I'm not. Am I going to care that this was thrifted? I don't even know what. So these are just old-fashioned items. Again, and it almost looks a bit like an orange red. But again, in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Well, I have a wee bit of music paper here as well. So anyway, let's lay down some hearts. Just because we can. Now, the reason that red and green, of course, pop the way they do is because they are opposite each other on the color wheel. It also means, and this is true of any colors on the opposite side of the color wheel. It also means that if you were to mix these two colors with paint, if you mixed a red and a green, you would end up with mud. And sometimes we want mud color. But if you don't, then that is something to keep in mind. I hope that you are well. It's funny, it's almost like our bodies know when the calendar has turned over to October or November or whatever, that, oh, it's time to start coughing. It's time to have a sniffly nose. It's time for a hoarse throat. Like, how is this possible? And yet it is. I've had to switch gears a bit here because I'm meeting with a bride, and maybe the groom too, later today. And then I have a phone meeting with another couple, in a few days' time. because people, of course, are continuing to get married. One of these couples is calling it an elopement. Now, I don't know, I'm not sure that that's what I would call it. It seems to me an elopement is a secret and it's spontaneous. I've done one of those in my day. But if this one is planned, weeks in advance, then anyway, no, you say tomato, I say tomato. And then the other one, and these guys are really smart. They probably heard horror stories from someone. They're doing a destination wedding, and I don't know where or when because we haven't had that conversation. But they're smart enough to know that to make their lives easier, they should definitely get legally married in Canada first and then do the other one for show, for sun and sand, or wherever they're going. I know of a horror story, and I had nothing to do with this. I would have helped out if anyone would have asked. But anyway, I know of a horror story where this couple got married. It might have been the Dominican Republic or Mexico. Anyway, a Spanish-speaking country. So they go there. They get married. This is their one and only marriage. And of course, all their documents are in a foreign language that they cannot read and are probably not going to be readable by any authorities here as well. So it sounds like a bit of a boondoggle, because apparently then the father flew down there at some point later trying to get some, and I'm just thinking, who would put themselves through that? So yeah, I'm glad that these guys are doing that right. Now, I did this for somebody else, a relative. And the interesting part was that we did the at-home small version, intimate version with just the two witnesses. And because the father was from out of province and he was here, and it made sense to the couple, to do it then. So it doesn't matter to me. So that was December. But the destination wedding was in Mexico in March. So I often wonder, and they kept it a secret. I think now, the rest of the siblings and family know. But I'm thinking, okay, so when do you actually celebrate your anniversary? Is it this year or is it that year? Is it December or is it March? So anyway, now these questions aren't keeping me up at night, of course, but just something that someone like me thinks about. Okay, we have some red, and I need to keep an eye on the time because it's easy to get carried away, especially if I start telling stories. Maybe we should introduce this. I have a few pieces of these. Not that gold really has anything to do with anything here. And maybe these snowflakey ones too. And, there's a reason that these things are called scrap busters. They definitely do, help you get through a number of small pieces of paper. Now, of course, if we didn't save every little thing, we wouldn't have these things to get rid of either, but most of us, Most of us love paper far too much to just throw away something that is perfectly good. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. by connecting things, and I know it makes for a thicker finished product, but by connecting things, it it unifies them in my mind. So I know some people just butt things up to each other and minimize the, and I suppose, I mean, maybe I should stretch myself someday and do a master board that way, you know, where I'm just, where everything has very straight edges and you just do the old butting up to its neighbor, and then get rid of that those hard edges when you start adding your final layer. And hopefully you can see whatever it is I'm doing here. And okay, hearts, you can see they're all facing the right way. They're facing me. For anything else, I am rotating the positioning off the paper. So some will be vertical, some will be horizontal, and again, that's just, I don't know. Does it make a difference in the long run? Perhaps. And you know, I hope you don't hear my dryer. And you know, maybe there will be very little of this black showing at all. And that's fine with me too. I've got some red stripes here. Got that. I didn't do that great a job. Oh, and I have some houndstooth, but I won't use that if I just have the one piece. Thought I did a better job of sorting this stuff. Oh, and I was going to use that as well, just because it's, whoops, that's different. Okay. So let's introduce that. No houndstooth today. Okay, I'll use up these first because they've got less practical uses than the stripes do. See, I don't like these little pointy things that sometimes results. So I end up nibbling away at it some more. Can't believe I'm so good with this glue book. Okay. See, it would help if I would throw these things in my little garbage basket here. I'm going to have to break down and vacuum this floor today. It is almost becoming a tripping. All the scraps on the floor are almost becoming a tripping hazard. Like, how bad is that? Oh yeah, right side up. So in a case like this, where a person is using, you know, just these few, I'm going to, you can be sure that I am going to use every single bit of it, because I don't want one you know, one thing left over. Now that has a pattern, so I'm probably not going to turn it on edge. Again, sometimes it does matter, and in fact, sometimes, especially with book page, because sometimes if you don't have enough variety in your, oh, that's so close to that one. If you don't have enough variety in the colors of your paper, your book pages, then it you need the visual of having the text going in different directions, you know, according to my taste. So sometimes I actually turn the board around so that, because, you know, I think we tend to, you know, because we read left to right and with things in a certain orientation, we, if you don't pay attention to that, it would be easy to kind of have it all going the same way, because that's what our eye likes to see. Okay, one last piece of this stuff, I believe. Oh, I've got 2 pieces of houndstooth. Maybe I'll have to use that too. Maybe there. And again, because this is, I'm sort of breaking my own practice here. Because these strips are so narrow, like 3/4 of an inch, if I tried to, you know, sort of rough up the edges, there wouldn't be much left. So that's why I'm doing it that way. And if there is a harsh, straight line that bugs me after this is cut up, then obviously I'll do something about it at that point. Oh, I don't think I told you that yesterday I finally, when I got home from my what was it? Western Chinese medicine guy appointment, I, you know, quickly changed my clothes and went outside because, you know, tends to be the warmest part of the day in mid-afternoon. And the flower pots are frozen solid, and the garden hose was frozen solid, and which meant I couldn't soak in the trees. So yeah, not a happy camper. Not a happy camper at all. I don't know if we will get a reprieve. Sometimes, some years that's been known to happen. I'm just sort of kicking myself, though, thinking that why did I assume that the good times would keep on rolling with this weather-wise. Okay, you see how this is taking shape. Now I do have quite a bit of black here, so maybe let's fix that. It almost seems like I better counterbalance this with some green. Now I could also, I do have these plain, you know, book page margins. And maybe I should add a wee bit. I just have these, I mean, obviously I have millions more pieces of, oh, and I can use the Merry Christmas too. If I can pick it up, I'll use it. I thought I had a second one. Where is it? Where is it? I thought it was funny. You know, some of you were so happy that I found my art canvas, that thrifted painting. Oh, I just have 4 Merry Christmases. And could totally identify with, you know, losing something. I just thought that was kind of funny. So I had visions of, okay, now I've lost the butter wrappers that I'm flattening out somewhere because they were very curly. They had been in a, they'd been in, you know, it rolled up in an elastic. So I had visions of my butter wrappers being with a birthday gift that Deanne misplaced 3 years ago. And a light box that Teresa misplaced, I don't know when. Can you imagine? It's like sort of Toy Story coming alive. These things are all hiding somewhere and laughing at the humans that can't remember a darn thing. That's the kind of stuff that amuses me. Now, because I know zero about this, I don't know which side is up, but I'm going to think it's that. Usually I look for a hint, you know, if there's some direction or a few letters of some sort, then I use that as a hint, like, okay, here we see an MO, so we know that that is up. That's a DD, or is that a PP? Oh, there's a 3 and a 1, so we know that that is up. Yeah, anyway, so I thought of something else I want to put in my giveaway, you know, bundle or whatever. But, so that's now the latest thing that I'm searching for. Basically a lithograph that I think just about anybody could use in their work. So I'm going to persevere and hopefully find that before too long. And it could be that when I do the video about the giveaway, that the prize will not still be intact, but that's okay. We're not going to drag this out any longer. Time to turn this over. Another thing that I have at my side here, but I don't think we'll get there, is a bunch of Christmas stickers. Now, of course, if they are very tiny, then they would, whoops, they would serve a purpose like this. If they are bigger, then they become more like focal points. But I don't think we're getting to that point because how long have we been at this? Ooh, 43 minutes. Okay, I'm going to sort of tear carefully to keep my Merry Christmases intact. And of course, I'm sure I've got stickers with other, with similar greetings. Now, that also means that I now have these guys to use if I want to. These star decorations. Another thing I have to do is 1 or 2 or 3 part thrifting videos from my retreat. And since then, I guess, because of course I feel like I can't use the things or even put them away until I've shown you what I have. So another tip for doing a masterboard is when you're at a certain point, and again, don't overdo this, But when you're at a certain point and you have a limited number of pieces, so I only have, I guess I'll have 5 of these star things, and I only have 4 Merry Christmases. So at that point, I sometimes do what you see me doing now, which is sort of trying them out, or as, what's her name? Rachel would say from Roxy Creations, auditioning positions to see, you know, is it doing what I want it to do? And again, no guarantee that it will be visible and or readable when the thing is cut up. But if I were doing this, and I've said it before, if I were doing this on book page or something, then naturally the weight is such that it could become a signature page, and then the balance, the layout, becomes a lot more important at that point. Because viewers will be able to see it in its entirety. And look, I'm not totally crazy. I'm going to throw this away. Just like that. Yeah, I'm listening to that dryer. Both my washer and dryer lately, I don't know, I don't think I touched any settings. If a person doesn't get there when the bell ring, or when, you know, the timer ends, it now just keeps agitating, not agitating, it's sort of turning the stuff over, I guess, to avoid creasing. So that's kind of a good feature, I guess. You know what? This is quite a bit bigger than the other. I think I'll just save that to use someplace else rather than fool around with changing the scale here. So I think I'm going to glue those 8 pieces down and call it done. Although, well, let's do that and see what happens. I don't want to keep you here all day, and I have to stay aware of the time, because I do have that appointment with that bride. And I have a dryer that is calling to me. So if a wee bit of black shows there, it's going to be fine, because it's, no, is that, I can't even tell. Is that black or is that green? Anyway, it from a distance it reads as black, so that, like, inadvertently, that is going to help carry the continuity here as well, by having bits of black peeping through here and there. And again, if this doesn't look, to my eye or to your eye, if this doesn't look perfect, or, well, I forget perfect, if it doesn't look done when I quit soon, that's okay, because, as I've said, there are opportunities. Boy, look at that right angle there. Don't care for that. There are opportunities to keep on working on this as after it's cut up. Okay. Oh, 3 more to do. I will encourage you, if you haven't already done so, to please subscribe, to like, to hit the notification bell, to share a particular video if it really sort of hit you, and especially in light of this upcoming giveaway. Now, I did spend some time in yesterday's video talking about the need for subscriptions to be visible and verifiable. So I'll just put this thing here for you to look at. Again, the way to do that is when you're in your YouTube account, go to settings and then to channel, and then there will be some highlighted text like that says manage YouTube account. So if you click on that, it'll open another set of windows or whatever. Then you go to privacy, and then you go to subscriptions, and that's where you will find the ability to toggle from private to public. I know that it's not the most intuitive way to get there, but it's the only way I found, and that's why I wrote it down in those simplistic terms, because that's how, those are the key things that you need to look for. Oh, let me tear this edge. It doesn't need to be that straight. Okay. Don't really like how that is either, but I don't have a great deal extending beyond the edge of the paper. If I did, well, I will trim off the itty-bitty bits. But I'm going to stop here, basically because, I've spent enough time at this, and, I could beat this dead horse for a lot longer. I could overthink it. I could, really get carried away, but that's not the point of a masterboard, and in fact that probably backfires for most people. So thank you for joining me. We will see you in the next one. I think, well, I shouldn't say because I haven't decided. I'm thinking that maybe, I know that prior to junk journal awareness and involvement, I'd be one of those people who would say, what the heck are they doing? They got Christmas out and Halloween isn't even over. So because of the nature of this business and the fact that it takes time to make things by hand, naturally people start sooner. But I also think that I, and perhaps you, could be darn sick of Christmas long before the 25th arrives. So I think I'm going to intersperse some other things in between, just because we don't want to feel like this is hard work or that we're being punished in some way. So if I feel like doing something different, I will. And if you need permission, you've got my permission to do something different as well. Because we shouldn't be doing things because we think we should. Anyway, I'm going to stop there, guys. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.